Is Bitcoin the answer? Hash rates are going up, prices are going up, higher prices. Can we expect that?
Bitcoin is a store of value. And so if you want to protect yourself against this inflation, you need to put your investable assets into something that's going to protect your wealth in an inflationary environment. So you've got two choices, gold or Bitcoin. And clearly Bitcoin is winning that race. Bitcoin is winning the race. Capital is flowing into Bitcoin, not gold. Gold is acting atrociously, and for a lot of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And investors are deciding to go into Bitcoin as a store of value, and that's the only answer to escape this money printing insanity.
Okay, so for something to be money, it's got to be store of value, unit of account, and medium of exchange. We can argue that Bitcoin is a store of value. In El Salvador, it can be a unit of account. When can it be all three things in the U.S.? Can it ever happen?
Of course it can happen in the U.S., but I think the way to look at this, again, is to get out of a U.S.-centric point of view and to look more globally and understand how game theory works. So when you see what's happening in El Salvador, when that spread to Latin America, and you see it happening to Africa, okay, those are emerging economies, those are peripheral economies. At some point, it's going to kick in with a G20 country, and then suddenly that G20 country is going to be doing quite well because they're on a Bitcoin standard, and that will attract other competitors and other countries to come to say, you know what, we got to get in the game here. We can't. Let me put it to you this way: the idea of banning Bitcoin is fallacious. It's not. The risk is not, or the outcome is not that countries are going to ban Bitcoin like the U.S. The outcome is that countries like the U.S. are going to start aggressively hoarding and mining Bitcoin, as what I call the hash war. So, in other words, the U.S. at some point they'll figure out that, you know what, we have 8,000 tons of gold and we have a lot of treasury bills, but we don't really have any Bitcoin. And to stay competitive in the 21st century, we need to build our Bitcoin position. We need to start hoarding Bitcoin. We need to start mining Bitcoin. And then America will be on the path to recovery. And until that moment, it's going to be on the path of collapse. And that's what we can look forward to. That's where this is all going. Global Bitcoin war. It'll be a mad scramble by countries to try to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible in the same way that they would want to accumulate land or oil or gold, right? Countries like to accumulate large quantities of things that give them power and wealth. And they're going to see that Bitcoin is the ultimate power and the ultimate wealth. And that is going to drive this global scramble by the superpowers to own as much Bitcoin as possible. That increases the hash rate, it increases the security, it increases the price. That's how you get to $1 million of Bitcoin, $2 million of Bitcoin.
So let's recap everything you've said here. When global superpowers adopt more Bitcoin, when the politicians in a couple of years' time all scramble to make a Bitcoin standard, what's going to happen to the price? We're at $45,000 today. What's a price that makes sense to you, Max?
Well, you know, I always say that there is no top for Bitcoin because there is no bottom for fiat money. You know, if you're going to say, you know what I mean? If you're going to price Bitcoin in fiat money, the price is infinity because all fiat money goes to zero. If you price it in ounces of gold, you know, that would be a different way to price it. I think a more valid way to price it. I'm not sure exactly what the exchange rate is, ounces of gold to Bitcoin, you know, 40, you know, and then whatever that is, multiply times 100, and that's where we're going.
Wow. Okay. Let's do the math on that later, Max. What about altcoins? You have said in a recent podcast that you've hosted on the Orange Pill that altcoins are all going to zero. Why are you a self-proclaimed Bitcoin maximalist, and why do you hate altcoins?
Right. Well, altcoins. There's two major issues with altcoins, and the reason they're all going to go to zero. I'll attack the second one first. Let me do it in order. I'll do the first one first. So with Bitcoin, you had the discovery of a absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity. That's what Bitcoin is. And it took 20 years of looking by computer scientists to find it. And then in 2009, they discovered it. They found it after so much time and effort. And it everything. So there was no expectation of cash flow. It was simply an exercise by computer scientists. Can we discover? Are we going to be there when this perfect, absolutely scarce synthetic digital commodity is discovered? And they succeeded in 2009 without the expectation of future cash flow. Everything that comes after Bitcoin is essentially saying we're like Bitcoin. And therefore, because of the way it's done in the market, this perfect, pristine coin, because of the way it's done, we have an expectation of cash flow. So therefore, it's a security. And the SEC is right to shut down every altcoin there is because they're all unregistered security sales. I was a stockbroker for many years. I know the Securities Act of 33 and 34. I know as a former fiduciary and money manager and stockbroker, I can tell you that the SEC can shut down every single altcoin there is because they're all basically unregistered security sales. Something like Ether with a 70% pre-mine is clearly an unregistered security sale. Plus, it's totally centralized. They're all centralized. They're either absolutely centralized or relatively centralized to Bitcoin. There's a single point of failure. They're easy to take down. And I think as the friction between the governments and Bitcoin in countries that don't want to adopt a Bitcoin standard, let's say the U.S. doesn't want to adopt a Bitcoin standard, and they take a hostile position toward Bitcoin, they're gonna kill all the altcoins because they're easy to kill because they're centralized. You can go kill Ether tomorrow. The servers just it's not distributed through thousands of nodes all over the world. It's all concentrated in a few servers. Some of them are on Amazon Web Services. You just call Amazon and say, hey, shut the Ether down, and it's gone. We just had a hack this week of a DeFi hack, $600 million, right? It's all garbage. And so the market's going to weed them all out. Anything that's not Bitcoin is centralized garbage, and it's all going to be weeded out. And all those folks, however, are going to come to Bitcoin, and it's going to increase kind of the presence of Bitcoin, if you will. So there's $500 billion or $750 billion in capital tied up in these garbage altcoins and DeFi and all that nonsense. That'll migrate over to Bitcoin, and it'll strengthen the hand of Bitcoin. So we're going to see that. We're going to see that migration happen. So you put it all together and you end up with Bitcoin becoming much more powerful, altcoins disappearing, and governments on the back foot, scrambling, not knowing what to do, as it should be.
You're not a fan of proof of stake, Max? You can stake altcoins, you can earn interest.
No, proof of stake is fiat money. It's exactly fiat money. It just recreates the exact problem of fiat money. Fiat money is proof of stake. You have a lot of fiat money, you have power to go change laws. That's proof of stake. It already happened. It's called the US dollar. Recreating fiat money with digital money doesn't solve anything. It just creates more of a problem. Proof of stake is garbage. It doesn't work in theory. It doesn't work in practice.
You don't think the Ethereum flippening is happening then? People have been telling me Ethereum is going to flip Bitcoin. It's going to be the best. It's going to be the next biggest cryptocurrency in the world by market cap. And they list a bunch of reasons, including superior technology and better utility, potentially even better store of value. You don't agree with that?
No, Ethereum is centralized garbage. The transactions are reversible, as they have been many times in the past. It's got a huge pre-mine that's dropped onto the market, which is messing up price discovery. It's got huge issues in terms of auditing. Nobody knows exactly how many Ethereum there are. Nobody in the world knows what the count is. It's a complete nebulous number, and the supply keeps expanding extemporaneously, depending on the central committee, the open market committee of Ethereum, that decides without any understanding by the market what's going on. And to run the network, it's all centralized. It's not like Bitcoin that's decentralized. So, as I said, it's centralized, and it's easy to attack, and it will be attacked. Any short-term price movements, you look at these markets and you see all kinds of price movements that are on a short-term basis. It's not easy to understand why certain things are trading the way that they are, because you have dislocations and price disparities in markets all the time. And so you can't look at the price and say, really, that's the arbiter of whether or not Ether is doing well or not doing well, because you have to look at the network, how sustainable it is, how robust it is, Is there any use case for it? Right now, the only use case for Ethereum has been to launch fraudulent ICOs, fraudulent NFTs, buggy smart contracts that break down and don't work, like we just had this week with a major hack. So it hasn't even it doesn't even know what it thinks it's supposed to be. The head of the project is constantly revising its mission statement. They revised the mission statement 4 or 5 times. So as a plaything by Silicon Valley, actually there's a split, David. It's an interesting split between Bitcoin and Silicon Valley. People would assume that Silicon Valley is on board with Bitcoin. That's not true. Silicon Valley actually doesn't like Bitcoin. Ethereum's kind of their plaything, that they're using it they do a lot of insider trading, and a lot of things are going on there, market manipulation.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't compete with Bitcoin. It's utter trash. It's kind of like the MySpace of crypto. I don't think it's going to be here in another year or two, or it doesn't matter. There's nothing to do with it. It's like, it's total garbage.
So there's no room for any altcoins. I mean, what about transaction coins? Like, what about stable coins? What about things? People would argue that arguably Bitcoin has failed as a peer-to-peer transaction network. It's evolved into a store of value, but we need something to fill that void. We need things to actually transact in that are going to be faster and cheaper than Bitcoin. What do you think?
That argument is it was always a bad argument, and now it's not even an argument, because we have the second layer with Lightning, which is outperforming every other transactional coin like Cardano or Ethereum or all these coins or EOS that talk about how many transactions, etc. So it's already now made those obsolete.
Okay.
And they're centralized and easy to take down, and they're going to be abolished anyway. So don't even go there. And so we have the transaction speeds with Lightning and second layer. It took longer than people were hoping for. I mean, the whole story of Vitalik Buterin was he was on the core developers of Bitcoin. He's a very young guy. I met him when he was still a teenager in London, and he's a smart guy. But he got frustrated at the pace of the development of core of Bitcoin, and he had this idea of smart contracts, and he didn't want to wait around 4 or 5 years, as many young men are very impatient. In this case, a teenager. And so he broke off and he created this new protocol, but it doesn't actually do anything useful, and it's going to be disintermediated out of existence very quickly. And anything that you thought you could do with Ethereum, you can either do now or will be able to do shortly with a Bitcoin base layer. So there's no point to it.
Max, final question, I'll let you go. Have you ever considered your own coin, a Max coin? Keiser coin, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Well, somebody did that back in 2014. These 2 college students in Bristol University launched a Max coin, and it really as kind of a meme coin at the time.
Right.
Remember, there was Bill Murray coin and there was Kanye West coin, and these 2 kids created Max coin, and they never followed up on the project. It died shortly thereafter. One of the creators became famous as Crypto Cobain. He's actually the creator of Max Coin.
Oh boy.
He's a famous altcoin trader who's that's kind of like, I'm kind of like his father, I think, essentially. I'm his crypto father. I gave birth to Crypto Cobain. I think he had that's where he ended up going. And that's the story with it. It doesn't. It's a shit coin as far as I'm concerned, and it's kind of the story came and went back in 2014.
Maybe you can stake it. Who knows? Well, Max, I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope to speak with you again soon and update the audience on all things cryptos and Bitcoins. Thank you for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
Oh, David, my pleasure.
And thank you for watching Kitco News. Before we go, Max, where can people follow your work? Where can they learn more about your musings on Bitcoin?
Well, our podcast is on YouTube. It's youtube.com/orange pill. And then you can always find me on Twitter at Max Keiser. Stacey Herbert's on Twitter at Max Keiser. Those are the best places.
Excellent. All right. We'll follow your work soon. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching Kitco News. We'll see you again soon.